Okay, Ms. Short?
Yes.
So, number one, call committee to order at 5:30. 5:35. Roll call?
Señor Gutierrez, here.
Neto Guajardo, board member. Mario Garza, board member.
Ben Afonso, EDC director.
Jason Zambrano, attorney.
Israel Garber, treasurer.
Larry Sanchez, president, and Mr. Pete Contreras is here.
Yeah, board member.
Yes, board member. Public comments, anyone?
No, any public comments?
Director report?
Yes, Mr. Vice President and members of the board, welcome Mr. Jesse Zambrano to your first meeting. It's a pleasure having you here. On the financial report, I don't have much to report, just other than the school district with that property they're still in talks. So the last I heard, the last I visited with the attorney was that it seems like it's going to be placed back in the general property, and it'll be in discussion. That's a big topic, yes, sir. So other than that, I don't have much more to discuss as far as.
On their next school board meeting, or?
Yes, the next school board meeting.
And do you know when that is?
I'm not really sure when the next meeting will be.
There's a workshop today, the next meeting probably be another 3 weeks, not 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
And it may be on the workshop, Mayor, or, but he did say on the next one. I'm not really sure if it was.
I'm assuming it'd probably be just a regular.
It may be tonight.
It may be tonight, yeah.
That's all I have on that.
Anything in the financial, pretty much covers financial, correct? Okay, item number 6, into the items on the agenda, discussion. Item number 1, discussion, consideration, and possible action, if any, to approve the payment number 7 for the $10,502.85 and payment number 8 for $14,481.69 submitted by Castle Enterprise LLC, a grand total of $24,984.54. Invoices attached.
What was the total?
The total?
24,000?
The grand total was $24,984.54.
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, there's a couple of invoices attached to it. One of them is the last of the last submittal that was submitted by Castle Enterprise. This is the last work that was performed by them. It's already been tested and pressured. Everything has to be fine. It's already being signed off by the engineer as well as our utilities director. And the other amount that is there, that's for the repayment. It was also, after this year, that's pretty much already closed.
And is Mr. Holmes, the engineer, is it Mr. Garza?
Yes, correct.
Any discussion on that?
You'll see the two invoices there, and his signature is attached to it as well.
All you need is approval. All you need is approval.
Yes, all I need is approval.
Any questions? The motion was made by Mr. Zed, any second? Second to Mr. Contreras, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2 is discussion, consideration, and possible action, if any, to approve payment invoice NY number 76 submitted by Garcia and Peña for $13,000 even.
Yes,
Invoice attached.
yes, the invoice is there attached. This invoice is a little bit kind of weird because it's got for 2 years, I guess. Apparently last year we were not, they didn't bill us for their work, the other services. And Mr. Luis Gonzalez had asked me to check into that, whether it was already paid or not, however it wasn't paid last year. So the services that are being rendered, this is for 2 years for $13,000.
This is for the year of 2016 and 17.
16, 17, 17, 18,000.
You know, I have a question. In reference to this, every year we put our budget together and we allocate money accordingly. Is this possible, Mr. Sontano, where we back pay a year? Since I don't think we budgeted for this to begin with. That's my main concern. I mean, we've never discussed having to pay the services we received a year ago. I mean, I'm guessing it should have come out last year's budget, not necessarily this year's, but my first question legally, is this correct?
Well, I mean, I don't think that the payment of a debt is necessarily dependent on the budget that, that you have for that calendar year. If it's a debt and it's owed, yeah, I suppose these are for service, what type of service?
Audit.
For audit. Okay. So what happened, so the audit was conducted when?
It was conducted last year,
16 and 17.
and then this year again for last year's audit,
Okay,
last year's financials.
okay, so this is for the payment of last year's audit? Or also for this year, or this year's, part last year?
No, actually, for last year's and this year's,
Okay, so how much is it for last year?
6,500.
Okay, so half, okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess, Mr. Contreras, to answer your question, I don't know that the budget itself determines, I mean, if there's for example, like if the EDC, there's a service that's provided to the EDC, let's say today, and the EDC doesn't pay that this year, you go into the next budget year, that debt is not gonna be, the payment of that debt is not gonna be dependent on which budget year you're in. If it's a debt, it's a debt. Legally, it's a debt, right? So I guess you have a vendor here saying that the EDC owes a debt, and so you guys need to decide if you pay it or not.
So a follow-up question to that is, I mean, shouldn't there be some sort of an agreement that it should have been taken within, it should have been covered within that year? I mean, how does that, how do we end up moving into another year, having another audit conducted, with still having the previous one not paid?
Well, it goes back, it goes back to what we've been talking about, previous administration. You know what I'm saying? So now, from here on out,
we have to make it right.
exactly. And so from here on out, I guess just my opinion on that is just, I mean, I understand where you're coming from here, I really do, but I have to say, I mean, going back to the previous administration, we saw a lot of flaws, and we've talked about them for so long, and I think from here on out, we're gonna correct it, and you won't see that again.
And were they able to find any records of?
Again, on that, I know it wasn't paid last year, we checked with our financials, and whether the invoice was submitted accordingly back then, I really don't know. However, we just got hit with 2 invoices, so that's when we checked with finance.
And we do have records of those audits.
Yes.
Yes, they do.
The work was done, so.
Yes, the work was done.
And just so as far as the money that was budgeted for the financial audit for this year was at 25,000. So we're way over the amount of money that was allocated for that.
My follow-up question is about reference.
Wait, 25,000 or 2,500?
1,000. Did we allocate it for
Over budgeted so much though.
Well, because we based it on the city.
We also budget the accounting services for the city, $1,000 a month. That goes to the
Those
city.
25 are both for the audit
Audit and
the services for paid to the city, and it adds up to 25?
12,000.
12,000 plus another.
I don't know what else y'all budgeted, but it's included in there. In the
1,000 would be 12,000 for city services, okay? So 20, you said 25?
25.
So our fiscal year ends in October of 2017, also along with the city?
It's the same, yes.
Okay.
This week.
So we are, almost 6 months, actually, 8 months into the year, right?
Right.
Okay. So, well, obviously, we're gonna have to fix some issues. How are we doing on the budget? Can we cover this? I guess that's the next
I
question.
think it adds up to 25 if you look at it, 12,000 a year and then 13 that they're charging what it quits. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here, it fits perfectly with the 25.
And then from
13
record of
plus
them
12.
submitting invoices before?
You know, and that was a follow-up question in reference to, you know, this is a responsibility of both parties. One, us receiving the service and paying, and them as CPA say, hey, we provided a service, it should have billed way before a year later, right?
Maybe a bit, but we don't know, right? In 2016, we got 2017.
You see what's
so
gonna happen, we're gonna start getting everyone charging.
Yeah.
I'm not saying don't pay, that's not what I'm saying.
I understand. Juan Contreras, Commissioner, Mayor Contreras saying that he just wants to know was it budgeted for the 2016 and was it paid on that time? but he said that there was no invoice or anything submitted, you know?
And then we got an audit?
It should have come out there.
What I was gonna suggest,
Or not.
Mr. Contreras, is, that in the future, whenever, because I suppose that you guys go out for, RFQs, for audit firm every year, or how do you guys handle that? How does the EDC or how does the city handle that?
We go out.
So every year you get, so I guess this invoice was pending when you all selected this firm for 2017?
We go out with the,
Or you did it every 3 years, or?
we go out with the condition of extending another year.
Okay, well, that's my point, that you just wanna make sure that in the future, to avoid what happened here, is that whenever you go out for, requests for qualifications, or if you're gonna decide whether to extend the year, that at that point, when it comes to this board, then you guys decide, hey, all invoices have been paid, and I would even extend it to, you know, any issues with the work that was performed, do we want this auditor, do we want, you know, you have a discussion on it, and at that point, you address that, to make sure that there's nothing pending.
Correct, and Mr. Brown, I want to thank you for bringing up that, making that comment in reference to expressing issues or concerns, because I think some of us did express some concerns in how this actual report was introduced and presented to us, because he kept flopping back and forth. But aside from that, when you said, Mr. Arjona, about going out for RFQs, was that on behalf of the city or the EDC?
It was on behalf of the city.
For the city, and then we just used what you all used, right? So that to kind of eliminate some confusion. Okay, the next question I had, was there clarification in reference to when they presented, I recall them not knowing a major or a debt, because the budget, our budget represented a debt that occurred back in 06, 07, the debt, bond issue that was a joint bond with the city and the EDC. Was that clarified and reflected correctly? Do you recall that? Remember that? They weren't aware because they didn't have minutes, they didn't have backup, they didn't have the paperwork reflecting that. Do you guys remember that at all? Nobody remember that? The corner on Cesar Chavez and Expressway where Bank of America is. St. Ives, that St. Ives project, the San Juan Corners, was a project that we worked on back in 06, like 05, 06. And that was a joint, we went for a bond issue for the city and the EDC, which I believe we're still making payments on it, but they weren't aware that's what the money was for. NSA they as Garcia Peña. Yes, the auditor.
Right.
Was that clarified to them? Are they clear to that? Maybe we need.
I'm not sure.
Because they had questions on it. They had questions that is the auditor here?
No.
But there was a figure there. There was a figure there that showed that we owed the debt, but they weren't sure where it was coming from.
Yeah.
My question was about that particular issue, did they receive the proper paperwork to justify the debt? That was, but I guess they didn't, if you guys weren't aware.
And now the question here is, if we pay this one, are we gonna honor any other invoice that we get from other, things that we cannot prove whether they did or not paid, not paid?
Well, as far as being able to prove, we can prove that we have not
Paid.
paid those services.
Right.
Those services are outstanding.
But it's the same thing as the others that are, with the businesses, they're coming out with,
Businesses
that we can prove that they did charge, they didn't get paid, but are we gonna start paying anyone that comes with invoices from the past?
I say if you bring invoices because they really did service to us.
Well, 2017 was just, just presented to us about a month ago.
Yeah, about a month ago.
Right, and the school year ended 16, back in October 2017. For the amount of transactions we had, I think it's a very long time. for us to get an audit to take that long, and then we have, and then we don't have still clarification of the properties you're talking about, Mr. Madras?
Page
Is it one
14,
for 2017, right?
I'm sorry.
It's for the audit for 2017?
The
Still,
audit?
that we're not clarified on that?
Yeah, this long-term debt, okay, well, this long-term debt was, the bond payable of is it $7 million? $7,770,000. It was this one. Obligation.
Yes, it is 2007.
Is that right? Okay, this was, they weren't able to, they didn't understand where this was coming from. Because they didn't have the proper paperwork to justify this 2007, bond payable that we're still currently paying, we're paying on that, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
So, did I confuse you with the
No, I think I'm following,
He made a request of the paperwork because they weren't sure.
We're sure on that, but we don't have the documentation, right?
Was that ever
found or given to him?
Not from the city.
No, not the.
So are we saying that the audit is inconclusive so far? So it's not really done? Yeah, we have a question around that, correct?
Well.
It is recorded.
It's recorded.
I guess he just didn't know, I don't recall what he actually was trying to get at, but he didn't know what it was used for, and I believe that's what he was.
All he has to do is plug in what it really is supposed to be, correct? But he put it, so that is truly correct, all we just need to plug in what it was really.
Let me see if I understand these numbers correctly. 2016, we paid on bond payables 1.9 million?
Yes.
Okay. So, and in 2017, we paid 1.7 million?
I was gonna ask, or I was gonna reference guys, I don't know if this item is on the agenda, I think we're going outside the scope of what the item is. So can we just, stick to what we know?
Okay, discussion,
So that was part of the discussion with, so do we approve paying it if there's questions on that?
It's gonna be up to you guys.
Well, I think the question is that I received it as, I think the services are rendered, the audit was a clean audit, all the years, as you can see. Now, the question comes as to, and again, we're gonna go out of the scope, but were the services rendered? Yes, they were. Now, the bond, do we know what those bond monies were used for? And I think that's what the auditor's question came into play, not how the money was used, but for what particular project it was used for.
But we know.
But I feel that that's a question of how monies were spent that has nothing to do with the scope of the work for the audit that was done. And so I think we can have all the discussion we want on that. Like, for example, you guys can question, did they do the work, which they did, we have a report. But we can question the quality of the work. You can say, you know what, I just don't think the work was good, and then maybe based on that, you make a decision. But I think the discussion should be centered around the work itself and not what were the contents of the audit, because I think that's a separate discussion that you guys can bring up later. But I think strictly right now, I think the question is, there's a debt, will you pay the debt? I think there's already been discussion that the services were provided. If there's an issue of the quality of the services, then you guys can make a vote on that. But I think that's pretty much.
In reference to the quality of work, I'd prefer if we go with these people again to get those questions clarified before they present to us. Get with you all and make sure they get those documents that they came here and asked for. Instead, make sure they get with you all before they come and present. In reference to the quality of work.
I make a motion that we go ahead and pay out this bill.
Commissioner Moore, Mr.
Second.
And the second one, Mr. Perez. All in favor, say aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, discussion and possible action on grant reimbursement in the amount of $250,000 to Lexus from U.S. Community Adjustment and Investment Program from San Juan, EDC, number 2015-001-TX-P.
Yes, Mr. Vice President, members of the board, this is the Lexus project. This is not necessarily the construction on the outside, but this is the actual Lexus grant that was awarded to them in the amount of $250,000. The commitment on that was that the Lexus was supposed to be reimbursed once the project was actually completed. It is completed, we have the documentation. What do we have?
Here.
This is the final report that was submitted by our consultants. Everything is there as far as the, if there was any type of delays, that is there. Pretty much the project is already completed, and they're asking to be reimbursed on that $1 million.
$1 million already allocated, sir?
Yes, sir, the money's there. And it's already budgeted and ready to be paid. And again, this is a full grant, it's on that bank.
And a motion to approve unless anybody has questions.
I second.
Motion been made by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Gatsa, all in favor say aye. All opposed?
Connection is in already ready.
Motion
Don't
carries.
know when the ribbon cutting is gonna be taking place, but they already have vehicles on the lot.
Item number 4, discussion, consideration, and possible action, if any, on setting next EDC meeting dates for July 2018. Anybody, suggestions on dates? Sir? Will you be available? Anybody? Like, I know most of us are kind of busy,
Oh,
so.
if you guys are asking me, I'm pretty, Mondays I pretty much have my, my school board meetings and other commitments, so, if you are asking me, I mean, any other day other than Monday would be good for me.
Okay. Anybody?
July 19th, we don't think,
July
it's
10th is
a
a
Thursday. Or,
I won't be in that week, I'll leave on the 18th, I'm gonna be out of town, 18th through the 22nd, but you all can go ahead.
well, I mean, this is a suggestion, I don't know if it needs influence or just something else.
19th on Thursday?
Or the following Thursday, I'm open. 19, 26, whichever one you guys want.
26, anybody? All opposed?
You're good, 26?
Anybody else?
You think once a month is, I'm just, I don't know, I just don't know, cause I feel that once a month is,
Do we have anything pending that we might be considering?
We.
I know a lot of us are, I don't know who's gonna be on vacations or anything, it's the summer days. so-
or maybe, you know what, maybe we can consider starting, yeah, exactly, in the fall, let's try to shoot twice.
Council, what do you think?
Yeah.
One meeting for, and then Tuesday, August, we start the two.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just gonna say, that, another way to set it up is to where you have your city meetings and your EDC meetings pretty much on the same day, because I know there's at least 3 of you that, for meetings purposes, and a lot of the times it ends up working out great because you may have things that you're discussing here that you wanna carry over to the city.
Yeah, I thought about
In real
that.
time.
And where approvals need to be happen, kind of at the same time, or pretty much, around the same time, so that's something that I think you guys should really consider. Obviously
Even if
not-
we have to push back the city meeting at least 30 minutes, instead of starting at 6:30, we show up here, what time we get up? Well, it all depends on that.
You're talking about the same day?
The same.
Have an EDC meeting and then the city meeting following?
Or how about one day before here?
Okay, well, let me see now.
No, I'm just.
It's all suggestion, it can't be on
It's a
Thursday.
suggestion, because what happens sometimes is that, like I said, sometimes you may have, projects that you're working on together and you can handle them the same day. But that's just a recommendation.
I agree with the recommendation if it lays any kind of lost time in between.
Right.
And trying to remember what was.
You have real time information.
And then it's going back to the twice a month. too.
Yeah, we need to go twice a month, we need to keep this moving faster.
I agree.
Hopefully we start in the fall, and I
You wanna
think,
start the?
what we can do, Zambrano and board members, is stick with the for July, and then on the 26th, then we'll decide to start twice, yeah.
So we're gonna do 26th of July?
Or whatever, 26, 29, what was the?
Is there a motion, anybody?
26 is the last Thursday of the month.
That's fine.
Anyway,
Motion been made?
Should the motion include that after the 26th of July, we're going to comply with the recommendation of the attorney in reference to the.
Motion been made that,
Do it on the 26th.
we're gonna comply, we're gonna do the July 26, 2018, with the notion that we're gonna take the council's recommendation to meet twice a month, for the same day with the city board meetings. Do I make a motion? First motion was made on that one. Is there a second? Second been made by Mr. Garza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We're gonna go to item number 7, executive session. The board of directors of Hawaii EDC may convene in a closed meeting pursuant to the provisions of chapter 551, chapter D, excepting to require that meetings be open. The Hawaii EDC board will convene in executive session in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Maryland, Texas statutes, and quoted annotated government code, chapter 551, subchapter 2, excepting to requirements that meeting be open. The Hawaii EDC may elect to go into executive session on any, whether or not such item posted executive session as at any time in the meeting when authorization to provisions of the Open Meetings Act. Have a motion to go into executive session?
yeah,
Second,
First been made by Mr. Ohio, second by Mr.
wait,
Yes.
yeah, he needs to step up.
We need the time also.
Do you have a motion to reconvene a regular session, consider action necessary and items discussion in the executive session?
So move.
Motion been made by Mr. Ohio.
Second.
Second by Mr. Garza. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Yeah, okay. Okay, do we have no, actually, I have to do,
No.
Yeah,
we have to do, we have to do it.
I have to do another motion
A,
to.
right?
Right.
It's
Are
a make a
we okay
motion
with that, Mr. Garza?
Yeah,
Mr. Lopez? Okay. We have a motion to, on item number 8. Sorry.
to allow.
Full discussion.
In the executive session.
Okay,
Make a motion to, allow, the mayor to enter, to allow, Mr. Arjona to enter into discussions with, the new potential EDC director. That's the motion. Yeah.
Second.
Second, first, motion been made by Ms. Gutierrez, a second by Mr. Ohio. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. All opposed? Motion carries. Items B and C, no action taken. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn. Motion been made by Mr. Gutierrez, second. Second by Mr. Gutierrez, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.